Plebs, today's video is just going to be a little bit of a audio thing talking about YCS Atlanta 2017, so feel free to like alt-tab into something else and just have this in the background or whatever you choose to do with your sort of podcasty style videos. No, moving on, we've got YCS Atlanta 2017. This was the continuation of Seattle, so I mean if we really just look at both events, you see that not actually much has changed in terms of the top cut spots. There's a couple of like differences with regards to like the smaller decks and obviously one in the end, but overall the representation is fairly similar. Now if I just take a look at the Seattle top cut comparatively, they had a lot more non sort of standard zoo decks. So that's what you would maybe consider something like pure and the kaiju zoo and like artifact zoo. So Seattle had actually less than that. They had a lot more quote-unquote rogue. So Seattle had like pure burning abyss, there was a Minerva deck, there was a Metalfoes deck, even fucking Cosmo, 3 Infernoid as well. And for Seattle, we basically just see sort of the same representation with a couple less rogues. So like you're essentially replacing like the random shit, like the Cosmo, like the pure burning abyss, like the Metalfoes zoo, Minerva. It's kind of just being replaced with more zoo, really. Kaiju zoo losing 2 spots compared to Seattle, so getting 7 altogether, and then pure zoo getting 15 compared to 11 from before. So pure zoo, unequivocally the best deck of the format. Just super consistent, just really not even like super powerful, just really consistent, you know, and it just does what it does like all the time, every turn, backed up with really powerful traps, really strong game ending traps like D-barrier and strike. That in itself can just win you games by on its own. So yeah, it's not really a surprise that Pure Zoo took the majority of the spots, about half, you know, so like literally about half. 1 spot away from taking 50%, you know, so the deck is obviously very strong. Don't be surprised to see this shit neutered very soon. But yeah, everything else that you can see here, we've got Zoo, Noid getting 2 spots, just dropping 1 less from before. I think it's safe to say that, you know, it could be an issue of representation for Seattle, but it's safe to say now at least Zoonoid is not the best deck at all. Not even close. It's barely scraped top cut. It's taken a couple spots before, taken a couple spots now. It's really not good. Metalfoe, again, another very powerful deck you'd think in theory. This with the pendulum mechanic to be able to play through barrier, and if that gets barriered you have your zoo plays. In theory you'd think that something like that would be really strong, but back row is just very strong. This format, just strike on a pendulum summon is just ridiculous. Strike on a clutch Deviati is ridiculous. Something like using lawn mowing and then relying on literally luck to mill well. It's not. You're not gonna have a good time with that kind of deck. Invoked, surprisingly, doing nothing. Literally, like for the most part, nothing. There was one invoked Wind Witch deck which you could kind of consider perhaps something along the lines of the standard invoked. I mean, that was something that was very popular in OCG for the longest time. Invoke Wind Witch with artifacts and like Call Haunted and stuff like that, just being able to cipher your opponent multiple times and stun them. And obviously Kaijuzu were inevitably going to be less popular this event, so you know, as a bit of a meta call, like Invoked Wind Witch might have been decent, but it took 1 spot out of 32. One, like, no, if a deck is good you would expect like 3+, and it just didn't get anywhere near that, you know. Just 1 suggests to me that it just sort of scraped by. There was 1 invoked Zoo and 1 invoked Zoo Kaiju, so I mean altogether like the invoked engine could have potential going forward depending on how people break the meta essentially, but for the most part I don't really see how that deck just is good enough at the moment. I feel like it's not doing what it needs to do, and I feel like it's too reliant on its normal summon. It loses to like staple side cards, things like Chain Dis, main deck text just are like beating it because of like main deck Chalice. which is designed for the Zoomern to stop Dryden, but Chalice in itself is just going to like fuck up your Merkaba. So it's like everyone is just indirectly like attacking your deck. So it's really disappointing to see that Windwitch just not invoked, not even so much the Windwitch and just invoked in general, just not doing great, just not being anywhere near as powerful as one would really hope in a format as diverse as this. So I think it's safe to say that maybe not the Zoo engine itself that needs hit, but perhaps maybe some cards like D-Barrier and Strike need to be hit in order to like bring the power level of other decks up, because I feel like the reason other decks are suffering so much is not so much because pure Zoo is like super broken, it's because of like all the back row it can play, all the relevant back row like Barrier, like Strike, like cards that are just super strong against everything. Now obviously you could argue like, well, I mean, why Barrier and Strike, you could just put that in every deck. Now yeah, that's true, you can just put Barrier and Strike in every deck, but you're diluting your combo pieces a lot, whereas something like pure Zoo has like infinite grind game and is just 1 to 2 card combos, like literally 1 card combos and a couple of 2 card combos here and there, and that's it, and the rest of your deck is just traps, and that's all you really need to like play a good deck. Whereas if you're playing something on Meadowfall, you need a hand of like 2 scales, which are like basically -2, then you need to like have 3 remaining cards to pendulum summon, but then on top of that, you know, you might need some defensive card as well, like a trap, and then you need perhaps like part of your Zoo engine. So ideally you're looking at like 6 like cards in your hand, like just to be able to like play a standard pendulum hand, compared to Zoo that literally can top deck into like broken like fucking comeback plays. So yeah, that's why Zoo I think is probably the best deck right now, and why something like Pendulum is just not, because in theory and you know, like sort of just conceptually as a first turn deck, you'd think something like Meadowfall is just really amazing, but like I said, for the problems I just mentioned, it really just can't compete with a hand of like 1 rat plus 4 traps or something, you know what I mean, or like 1 rat, Chalice, a Dark Hole, and like 2 traps going second. Not unrealistic, you know, not unrealistic to have some kind of a board wipe in the shape of Slumber, Dark Hole, Raigeki, and like Chalice or My Body as a defensive card with your rat in the shape of Terratop Barrage or just rat itself. Very generic hands mean that you can just win going second. Going first, obviously you have super strong hands. The monster count is like what, 12 monsters, 13 monsters you play, so bricking with loads of monsters isn't even like likely, and if it does happen, I mean, you're not going to lose the game outright. But yeah, that's just my little rant on Pure Zoo and why it's easily the best deck. Now, talking about the elephant in the room here. So, Pure Frogs. Something that people did not really see coming, something that people probably wrote off a long time ago. People were trying Paleozoic Frog, people were trying, Paleozoic Zoo Frog, Paleozoic as they like to call it. Izala managed to go quite far at YCS Seattle from Team Jobber, playing Volcanic Scattershot with the Pure engine. So it had a couple of showings here and there, but we definitely saw a lot of it on stream. Shoutouts to Mateen, the 55 card frog player. Holy shit, that was the best deck of the format, let's be real, guys. But yeah, frogs and just pure frogs. People would maybe expected zoo frogs, but pure frogs, I would think not. Now, pure frogs, I think were just obviously a very good meta call this format, for this event rather. Just because of the fact that everyone, you know, would probably have all their zoo cards by now, because obviously the first event of a format, not everyone's going to have everything, so people will be resorting to like random shit, which frogs tend to be good against. But you know, when you're building your deck specifically for zoo and like half the top cut is zoo, your chances are like so much of the representation is going to be zoo as well, and the deck just is like inherently good because of the traps are just really powerful. Like if they normal summon rat and you like Book of Moon it with Canadia, then you know sometimes they can literally just pass turn. Frogs aren't the worst deck ever at grinding through trap cards. It's always been a bit of a grind deck. So yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to see, at least from what we saw on stream, the deck looked unbeatable. Like when we watched the final with Chase, like that was easily a swift 2-0 if like a couple of misplays didn't happen here and there. But I mean, it looked like bullying for the most part. Like the deck was just controlling so well. It was just trading really well. 2-for-1ing, just better than any deck, really. It was phenomenal just how good pure frogs looked on stream. So I don't know, maybe it's something we need to test going forward. I really don't have the answer for it, honestly. I did have a little look at Simo's video where he talked about, you know, why did Paleozoics win Atlanta. You know, a couple of his points were good, but at the same time, you know, I don't think that these traps are particularly amazing. I mean, really the best traps is like your Dynamiscus and your Canadia, but like, you know, your other traps like Olinoid, it's not like the suit, not like amazing. Morella's obviously good, but like Lost Wind isn't, you know, super broken, I would say. I don't think that's enough to make it like a great, like, you know, 1v1 contender. It's hard to say. I don't really, you know, I've thought about it, and I'm just not gonna talk without knowledge and not gonna like state my opinion for the sake of stating my opinion. I personally don't know why frogs did so well at this event. Well, I don't know why they won the final, but did it do well at this event? No, not really. You know, 3 tops compared to like the 20, like 8 or something, or 25 of Zoo. Not really comparable, is it? So could be a little bit of variance. We had the same issue at Prague in 2015 where like 20 like plus Necros and then just 2 Burning Abyss topped, and then one of them won the event. And we never really saw it again after that. And a little bit of time passed, and then suddenly Burning Abyss is a mirror match in the American Nationals, and then Shadol wins Euro Nationals, so who knows. Maybe we'll see the same with Zoo. Maybe something crazy will like win YCS Prague and Denver and Pittsburgh, and it will just be like, maybe people will just realize the potential of frogs. Who knows? Stay tuned, guys. There's not really much I can give more of my thoughts on at that stage, other than, well, I'm gonna have to test frogs for a little bit over the coming few days against Zoo and see how we do. So thanks everyone for watching. If you've watched this far, give me a hashtag I'm listening in the description so I know that you've come to this very end point. And yeah, appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all the support. Thanks a lot for everyone joining the streams and stuff. It's been really fun the past few days. I hope to see more of you there. So yeah, thanks everyone. Take care and goodbye.
Come, face me, give in.